Are you getting tired of being bullied by the monk himself, Ryu? Well, in this video, I break down this matchup just so you specifically don't get donkey kicked in the face. So without further ado, let's get into it. So let's start off with Ryu's pressure game. We can start off with his light pressure because he is one of the characters with a -1 jab, so he gets standing light kick follow-up after. If you don't know, characters with jabs that have -1 frame data, if you do like 3 hits, you can usually get a 4th hit in, and if they press a 7 frame button or anything slower, they will get counter hit, but if they press 6 frames or faster, you will get counter hit. So here I have Ryu set to do crouching medium kick. Now I know his crouching medium kick is 8 frames, but even if you were to do this with Ken, Ryu would still win. So the first time I mistimed it, but there you go. If he does anything slower than 7 or 8 frames, they're gonna get counter hit. So what you wanna do is try to take your turn back with a 6 frame instead. Now you trade here, but you still get some damage taken off the opponent. Now, Ryu's standing medium punch is -1. I see a lot of people let him get away and continue his pressure after this normal. Do not let him. Take your turn back after you see this. Now he can do like a light Hasho and frame trap you, but like most people aren't gonna do that because they're just gonna use it as a block string tool and try to go for something like standing medium punch, crouching medium punch. So do not let him continue his pressure after standing medium punch because it is -1. Take your turn back with a 4 frame. Now, some gaps, or a gap I want to talk, or yeah, a few gaps I want to talk about is standing light kick into fireball. Even heavy fireball, this is, it has a huge gap if you can tell down at the bottom. You have a 6 frame gap here. So you can be reversal through. I don't know why I did EX, but here I even have him doing heavy, or I'm doing heavy fireball, and it's not a true block string. So if you see Ryu players like to do standing light kick into fireball, don't let them do that. Or even Hasho. Now another thing I even do myself, and a lot of other Ryu players do, is crouching medium kick into EX Hasho. Just to, you know, get those plus frames and even that chip damage on the drive meter. But again, this has a gap, so don't let Ryu get away with it. So the next 2 moves I want to talk about are heavy Hasho and heavy donkey kick. These both are really slow moves, with heavy Hasho at 30 frame startup and heavy donkey kick at 27 frame startup. So now that you know this, you should not let Ryu get away with this in neutral or a block string, because this is super slow, has a major gap, and is just super reactable. So if you don't know, moves that are around 22 and higher frames are reactable. It starts to get more difficult once you get down to like 20 frames. It is doable, but around 22 to 23 and higher is even more doable. So don't let him get away with this, or even like standing heavy punch into Hasho. You can drive impact both of these options and even react to it in neutral if you see him winding up doing heavy donkey kick, because this did get buffed in season 2.5, doing more drive chip and now does a full bar. So if you see him get away or do this in neutral or even in a block string, just DI or even perfect pick, because it's super reactable and you should not be letting him get away with this. Especially if you're in the corner and you get a perfect parry, you can throw him in the corner and then start your offense. Another move I almost forgot to mention is his solar plexus. This move is super DI-able, but as you can tell, like I mentioned, it's 20 frame startup, so it's gonna be a little harder on the reacting side. But if you know the Ryu player likes to do this a lot, just DI him and it loses cleanly. Like, he takes forever to recover and he can't DI back most of the time. Now let's go over Ryu's zoning game and how to get around it. So the obvious answer would be to jump, right? And you can get a jump in, but That's too obvious. Of course it is a valid way to get in. Like, if you can read their pattern and how many fireballs they like to throw and where on the screen they like to throw them, you can get a jump in. But since we're playing Street Fighter 6, you're gonna want to use the game's mechanics. And so you're gonna want to get good at perfect parrying fireballs and going into drive rush. You can also instant jump right after a perfect parry. I'll show you here. So as soon as you get a perfect parry, you can instantly jump as long as you're holding up. And you can also do instant drive rush. So I messed up the punish. I pressed standing light punch a little too early. But that's the general idea against zoning, even against other fireball characters like Guile. You want a perfect parry and go in. Don't let them breathe and maybe even get a knockdown. And just one little tip against Ryu's Denjin charge. If he has a Denjin charge or gets one, just play passive. Like, don't even try to push up on him. Just let him use his Denjin fireball, because if he lands that on you, he gets instant Oki, and now you have to guess. And even worse, if he hits an EX Denjin, he does more damage and still gets Oki. So be careful throwing fireballs against him when he has Denjin, because he just wins that war no matter what. Almost forgot to go over Ryu's medium donkey kick and light donkey kick. These are punishable, and if Ryu misspaces them, you should be punishing him. Now, he can space these out and make them safe, but that's where you gotta lab and visually see, okay, if he does it from this range, he's safe. If he does it from this range, I can punish him. Most of the time, if it's point blank, it's gonna be -8. Light kick, donkey kick, is even more minus at -11. But light is even harder for him to space out, but medium, he can space it out pretty easy, and it has decent pushback. So see, it's -5. You're not gonna punish that with anything from there. Okay, so let's talk about Ryu's meaty fireball setup in the corner. The way he gets this is off of a medium Tatsu, and if he throws an immediate fireball after he recovers, he will get the fireball meaty enough to where he'll be plus on block. So this setup, as you can see, leaves Ryu at +3, and if it hits in the corner, he can do like a standing heavy punch or crouching heavy punch to Link. But the way you beat this is you want to perfect parry it. So as you just saw there, you can actually get a punish if you perfect parry the setup. It does take a little bit of practice, like right there it took me at least like 6 tries. If you see yourself going up against Ryu's pretty often and they use this setup, practice perfect parrying the fireball. I think it's worth it. You get the damage scaling of a perfect parry, but hey, you get yourself out of the corner. Okay, so up next is Ryu's safe jump setups. He has 3 of these, and I will show you what they are off of. The first one is off of his light donkey kick. This sets him up, like it gives him the perfect frame advantage to get this safe jump. So as you can see, he was able to block. Now if I don't do anything and I block, he will land the jump in. So again, it's off of his light donkey kick. Now the next one is after his EX Tatsu in the corner into light Hasho. Again, this gives him the perfect frame advantage to land a safe jump. And like I mentioned in my Jamie video, the best way to beat safe jump setups is dependent on your drive meter. You can perfect parry them, but the perfect parry can also be baited out and just be empty jumped, and then you can be thrown. Or you can just take the throw, or take the safe jump setup and either block and then delay tech, so that way if they do like a safe jump throw, you'll tech, and then if they do something like empty jump low, and you delay tech, you'll block and you'll tech the throw. And the last safe jump setup is mid-screen, and it's off of his EX donkey kick. If you see the Ryu do a whiff jab into sweep, you'll know he's about to go for the safe jump setup. Those are Ryu's 3 safe jump setups that you should be aware of and practice defending against. You don't always have to perfect parry them. You can just block and then try to, like I said, delay tech, so that way you'll block if they do an empty jump low, and if they do empty jump throw, you'll tech. And that concludes the Ryu matchup. If you made it to the end of the video, I greatly appreciate it. Tomorrow, my releases, and will all be about her. I'll be releasing a character guide, breaking her down, explaining how to play her, and on Thursday, I'll be showing you how to fight against her with an anti-Mai guide, so stay tuned.